Welcome to this special edition of the Beauty Through Faith podcast. I'm Gustav Hoyer, Executive Director for the Kalos Arts Foundation. I'm pleased to be here together with my colleagues of the Kalos Arts Ensemble, and I'll ask them to introduce themselves momentarily. We're really pleased to be sharing our Salon, which is a special blend of theology and music and fellowship that we are bringing to communities across country. So we are in Souderton, Pennsylvania, for tomorrow night's concert. And I wanted to take a minute and let them introduce themselves, share a little bit about what a salon looks like from an artist perspective, and hopefully open our listener, if you're a listener to this show, open your eyes to the possibilities that go beyond a simple concert to something richer. But with that, I want to go ahead and begin with the ensemble. We have 4 instruments present. If you're listening, you wouldn't see that there are 2 violinists, a violist, and a cellist, and I'll have them introduce themselves in that concert order. So, Timoras.
Yeah, my name is Timoras Janikashvili. I am just violinist, nothing more. And we are really enjoying a lot doing something very important in our life, because music is our life. And we discovered beautiful pieces, 2 quintets, Gustav's pieces. And we're just doing some experiments in our life and enjoying a lot and doing real music.
I'm Cynthia on violin, and I'm a teacher, a performer, and I also educate my children at home. That is what occupies most of my time. I'm really excited to be doing this project because chamber music is set apart from other forms of performing. In orchestral music, there's a power and a grandeur that comes along with that, but in chamber music, there's an intimacy that the performers get to share and the audience gets to share in as well. So I'm really looking forward to this performance and the chance to have that more intimate and personal connection with my fellow musicians here. And
I'm Casey Runkle. I play the viola. I also, like Cynthia, I teach. I have a studio in Chattanooga. I also perform in the symphony in Chattanooga. I'm really looking forward to this, connecting with old friends and playing really good music. There's lots of characters going on in these 2 bigger pieces, 3 with the extra one we're doing. So lots of different moods, different textures, and it's fun to put it all together.
And I'm Eric Jones. I'm from Philadelphia, and I teach at a Christian school there. And really enjoying playing chamber music again for the first time in a while with old friends and new friends, and some wonderful music that Gustav has written for this piano quintet. So, as Cynthia was saying, really enjoy the intimacy of chamber music. Everyone gets a solo voice at times, but also joining in the background and the interplay between the parts. There's nothing quite like it. So, really thankful for this opportunity.
It's my privilege to be playing with all of you, and I'm really excited for the people who join us tomorrow night to experience exactly what you described as this exchange that we each have. It's like a conversation among friends. So as the cello hands off to the viola, maybe you want to open up the ears a little bit for people who are unfamiliar with chamber music. You've whet their appetite with what the experience is. Maybe give an example, not necessarily playing, but something that comes to mind when you talk about this intimacy. Cynthia, you mentioned that. Maybe you think of specific moments or ways that plays out that a non-musician could connect with.
It's really like having a conversation. It's a scripted conversation because the music is composed, but at the same time, when you're in performance, even in rehearsal, there is an unscripted element to that as you're passing lines back and forth. So anybody who really has relationship with other people around them can have an opening into what it is we're doing here, because we're going in and out of these musical relationships and these musical conversations with each other. And just every once in a while, you just have that magic moment of something clicking in the music and something clicking with your colleague as you're conversing musically across this small space here.
Months of putting work into our own parts. Now we're getting to see how the parts interact with each other, and working that out is very exciting. And playing off one another as you would in the conversation.
Yeah. I had images before our first rehearsal today, and when we start today morning, play together, exactly the same pictures comes immediately, and it's very joyful, and I'm very happy to share with my colleagues and my new friends this wonderful time, and enjoying playing together.
I think, as Cynthia said, it's scripted. We're following notes and dots on the page, but there's something spontaneous about it when we get to the performance. So it feels fresh, and we might not play it the same way twice at any given time, but that's what makes it alive.
You have all touched on one of the reasons that the Salon is an emphasis for Kalos, and it has to do with how live experiences in a digital age become more and more rare and more precious. And what you described as an ensemble with each other is connecting as human souls in real time and in a way that can never be reproduced. When you add then the audience to everything you just described, they're part of that chemistry too. And even as the sound waves move around the room, an empty room and a full room are different. And we as players are all responding to that as well. And so those who join in person for this event are joining a conversation. They're not coming to behold a static, frozen canvas. This is a living, breathing discussion that we will have together with the people at the Salon. And I think all of you captured that spirit so excellently. So looking then ahead, this music and this form, the Salon, one of the things that we ground on in Kalos is that the pursuit of the beautiful matters. And so if you're listening to this podcast, this will not be new, but I'd like to put the question to each of you, and we'll do it in reverse staff order. So we'll start cello, viola, second violin, first violin. We'll go up the stack this time. And I ask you, when you think about pursuing beauty in your own life, you're all artists. You've spent countless hours mastering your instrument, learning how to produce this kind of music that's very complicated and technical. What is the end of all of this? What's the purpose for you when you think about pursuing beauty? Maybe just a few words about why that matters, why this is something you're investing yourself in, not just for this salon, but as a part of your whole life.
As Christians, we get to know the author of beauty, and as Christians working together, we get to encourage each other in that expression and that pursuit of the ultimate beauty of Christ.
We've spent many years working on the skills that we have, and as we get older, we start to question, what are we going to do with these skills that we have? What responsibility do we have to pass on to the next generation the pursuit of beauty and share that with other people as we get older and more mature, and hopefully our sound is also getting more mature. It just means more, I think, now. But I think passing the concept of beauty onto other people is important.
So we all bear the imago Dei, the image of God. Right? We're all created in His image, and He is the definition of beauty and truth and goodness. And so the only right response for us as humans who want to be more fully human, more fully the creature that God has created us to be, it's only right for us to pursue beauty and truth and goodness. When we do that, we are pursuing Him, because we are pursuing the things that that he is and that he defines and that he has imprinted in each of us, whether or not we like it, whether or not we admit it, whether or not we know it, we all do bear that image. So this pursuit of beauty is really a pursuit of becoming more fully human.
Yeah. I absolutely agree with my friend. The music is our way of life. It's not just playing instruments. We are studying a lot of hours in our life. But when we are together making music, making it's not just music. Also, what my colleagues say, the beauty. This is our origin of our life. Music is our way of life, and we are doing something beautiful.
Well said. And that pursuit of beauty, it's grounded. And Cynthia, you said this, we talk a lot about it in the Kalos Foundation more broadly, that imago Dei, we bear God's image. We know that's one of the first declared truths that we have in our scripture. In Genesis, we come to discover who we are as that image bearer. And to steward that image well is itself a form of worship because it acknowledges the author whose image that we bear. And we know that God, being beauty, loves beauty deeply, more richly than we can know. And we love it as a derivative of Him and that. So when we are pursuing these beautiful things together, that beauty takes a lot of different shapes too. And in music versus art versus poetry, that pursuit of the beautiful from a believer's standpoint involves a set of choices. It involves moving beyond passively receiving whatever is out in the world and making a decision to see and hear actively, not passively. So for this upcoming Salon, we're introducing, in addition to some music that we've discussed and that in-person musical experience, there's also an element that is a lighting experience that we've created for the purpose of these salons. And you really have to come to the event to know what it's going to be like. But essentially, how do we add another dimension of embodying the musical experience? And in order to do this, it requires some computers and flashing lights and cables and things that generally classical musicians aren't huge fans of, but we are going to have some of this. So quartet players, colleagues, any thoughts about the technical element? Because you haven't seen it in action either. It's going to be new for you. But any thoughts about what we're doing with this lighting or thoughts for the audience or thoughts for me, cautionary tales, anything you'd like to comment on the technical and the lighting elements that we're bringing?
I'm hoping that the lights will enhance what the audience is hearing, giving it a visual without being distracting.
There's a cool connection between sound and light. Right? They both have waves, so I think this could be a really cool concept to see, to have a visual of sound, which once you start thinking about that a little harder, at least for me, it makes my brain start to hurt, right? We don't experience sound with our eyes. We don't really experience light with our ears.
Yeah, you've hinted a bit at how it works, which is creating an analog between how the eyes receive energy, input from outside, and how the ears do, and it's through vibrational energy, but through different media. And as you said, does the way we receive optical energy and the way we receive sound energy, putting them together, metaphorically putting them side by side and asking the question, is this another dimension that unlocks some of the musical interplay and what you have all described, that conversation that we have with each other, some of that will now become visible, not just audible. And the audience will be able to see, oh, who's talking right now? Who's not talking? Because if you're not used to hearing this kind of music, you might not know how the viola sounds different than the cello at a certain moment, or a low violin and a viola. And when you see, the lights help you understand, oh, who's talking to whom? Who's in conversation with whom? Who's doing the same stuff? Who's doing different stuff? And Casey's point that this should augment an experience with the music, not not impede or impose upon. It's not like the movie Fantasia. It's not a narrative. It's actually an augmentation of sound itself.
The sounds can be helpful maybe for, especially for new generation, because they are now they need something more, not just sound, maybe also some flash, but it's very important if they are looking and receive a red line is not stress, just higher notes, because the different colors, blue is higher notes, right? And
Higher energy.
higher energy, and the red is the low, right? It's opposite. Yeah, it's very interesting to discover, but it's not stress. If a red line is not.
Yeah.
Just for information.
I think it's interesting that light travels in waves, and so does sound. And so they're both traveling in that sort of medium, and seeing how they work together, and just the energy, having a visual and the audio for the energy that we're feeling and that we're getting from the audience. It all kind of works together. It'll be a really neat experience to put them together.
Be excited to be sharing that aspect of our salon and our experience, going beyond the download, going beyond just passive. It's another way we're inviting our audiences with Kalos Arts into a fuller exploration of what it means to be embodied souls pursuing beauty. So as we think about music then as a vehicle for people to experience beauty, and there are others, but music, what's one musical listening, a music appreciation for someone who's not a musician? What one piece of advice, or what maybe something someone could hang their hat on when they're listening to this music that would help them better engage the pursuit of beauty through this potentially unfamiliar art form? What might you say? You're all educators in different ways. So you do this with students. What would you say to someone who attends this salon so that they can pursue beauty with us together? What advice do you have?
That's a really good question, Gustav. I think there's a lot of different things we could point somebody to, somebody who might not be well practiced in listening to classical music. But maybe one I might give them, especially if you do have the opportunity to hear something several times, because music comes and it goes and it's done. And you can only revisit it if you do it again, right? Play the recording again, attend the concert again. There's the memory of it, but it's hard to really capture that memory. But what I think I would try to give people is see what you can make of some sort of structure. As you're listening, do you hear something come back that you heard before? Do you hear themes or sections that remind you of something you've heard before? And it's something that might be hard for a new listener to do, because you have to hang on to these melodies for sometimes minutes and even longer before they come back again. But if they're able to piece together maybe some sort of form or some sort of overall structure of the piece, I think it can bring a greater appreciation to just seeing the content as a whole. So when you look at a piece of art, you're able to see that form, that composition, the balance, the perspective, the proportion, all at once. And in music, we have those same qualities. They're just played out very differently in real time. So if you can just hang on to one little nugget, and do you hear that come back again? And I think that can help give a listener some sense of the entirety.
It's excellent advice. And the reality that music as an art form, I like to say it's painted on the canvas of silence, but it's also painted on the canvas of memory. Because if you're going to have intelligible structure or narrative, it must be drawn from memory for the exact experience you said. And so listening with intent, and not with the purpose to perfectly memorize, but listen as if you're trying to remember a face, that if that familiar face comes back in a crowd later, that you recognize the face at least. You don't need to know it in every detail. You don't need to know it perfectly.
If I could even add on to that, when you open up a play to read it, you get a cast of characters, right? Or if you go to an opera, you might be given a program with a cast of characters or a synopsis. So another way that an audience might be able to be blessed is if they're exposed to, here are a few themes you might hear. And so they already have that introduction to the cast of characters, so when that character comes in, oh, there's that thing I heard earlier. So that's a way we can help an audience build that musical memory.
I would say also that listeners should be confident in what they're hearing and how they're experiencing what they're hearing, even on the first time. Everything that you're hearing, at least ideally, is intentional. First from the composer in how he wrote the music, but also in how we play each note, each phrase, and how you're interpreting that, how you're hearing that is also not an accident, and you don't have to approach it as descriptive titles for each of the moves, thinking more about it.
If someone's new to hearing strings, there are some different techniques that you can kind of look out for and listen for. We play with the bow most of the time, but sometimes we pluck the strings instead. There are some other techniques where the sound we make is a little more brassy sounding or shimmery, how we use our bow really fast at the tip. So there are different sounds that we're making out of one instrument, and I think just having your ear open to those different textures that we create.
Eric mentioned something I think is critical specifically with classical music, but it's also true of other music, that what you hear, it's all a series of decisions, carefully made decisions. And so when you listen, ask yourself, why did I hear this thing after I heard that other thing? Why does this follow the other thing? If you interrogate the experience, knowing that it's not accidental, it opens up a whole way to think about what you're experiencing. And you're now in dialogue with the music in a different way than if you just passively let it wash over you. If you're asking questions, oh, that's interesting. It was sounding kind of dark and moody, and now it sounds bright and hopeful. Why? Why did that change? And these questions help you drive new experiences.
The process during the rehearsals, we are preparing something. I don't know to say quintet for play, more forte, meno forte, or more faster, slower. We're just preparing. We're discussing about a lot of things. But when we play concert, something magic things is doing click. And we decide in that bar to do diminuendo or ritardando, I don't know, something. And in the concert, people can keep going. This is the magic moment, And the people, they receive this energy, this magic moment. If we are discover this moment, also people, they appreciate, and definitely I like play concert for beginner listeners, because some musician or student, they are with music. Oh, but here's piano. Why they are playing forte? Oh, come on. Goodbye. Musician and also magician.
On the beauty of live performance, and both you, Tamaraj, and Casey mentioned you as players is a whole other dimension that if you were to just listen to this music as a recording, you would miss both elements of what they just shared. Number one, you wouldn't see these human beings interacting with their instrument and the physicality that's required to make the sounds you hear, how much of their whole body and whole person is invested. And then Timo mentions that in the moment, because of the chemistry in the room and for no other explicable reason, whatever we rehearsed changes and we do something different because that's what the moment needs. And none of us can anticipate that. And so a live performance is not available in any other way in the streaming and the AI and all the digital, and none of that gives you the humanity of a live performance of musicians working out together in musical dialogue, shared life. It's such a privilege to make music with all of you, and I'm really looking forward to our salon tomorrow evening. If you're in the area, please join us at Souderton at St. Peter's Anglican Church. We would love to see you. We would love to share some life with you, and that together we will pursue beauty as image bearers of God. Thank you, Kalos Arts Ensemble, for all your great answers, and I look forward to making music with you tomorrow.